All right, Mitch, Nathan, thank you for jumping back on for both of you. I appreciate you making the time. If you can give a brief introduction to yourselves, and then we'll jump in. So, Mitch, we'll start with you.
Okay. Mitch Ried, currently Vice President, Sales and Marketing for Louisville City Football Club, which is USL League One Championship League team in Louisville, Kentucky. The team has been around 5 years, probably one of the most successful American soccer stories. In 5 years, has won two cups in 5 years, played for three straight, been in four of five conference championships, won three of them. So pretty cool. We, to be part of the organization, just completed a $65 million stadium in downtown Louisville that we were hoping to open on April 11th. But, obviously this pandemic has delayed that. Most of my career has been in the NBA, 15 plus years in the NBA. In Atlanta with the Hawks, and we also had the Atlanta Thrashers there before the team was sold. Spent a good 10 years there, and then 5 years in Cleveland with the Cavaliers before taking the family back to Atlanta to kind of an entrepreneurial kind of leap of faith with the Alliance of American Football, which was a great experience, even though it folded way too soon. Similar, same as XFL, but awesome experience. And then after that was over, just kind of evaluated opportunities till Louisville City came to the forefront. And great opportunity for our family to come up here. So been here for about 7 months.
That's awesome. Nathan, you're on mute.
Mitch, 0 for 1 there. Mitch, I grew up in Richmond, Kentucky, so just south of Lexington.
Sweet.
So we know we're all about three things. It's horse racing, bourbon, and basketball. So
there you go.
Those are pretty good three things, I'm going to be honest.
That's our bread and butter. I can give you a couple spots to find your way into in Louisville. But my name is Nathan Blum. I'm the Senior Director of Sales at NASCAR. I oversee all of the direct outbound sales on the consumer side of the house and the group sales side of the house. And what that looks like is 4 regions led by amazing regional directors, some in-house, some external that we're building out, as well as on the group sales side, David Campbell, who we just grabbed from the Miami Marlins. So building out our team, and was in the midst of scaling up a little bit, and this slowed us down just a tad with the pandemic. But really excited to be here and chat with both of you guys. My time before NASCAR was with minor league baseball, a Fenway Sports owned property, the high A affiliate in Salem, Virginia, right outside of Roanoke. I was VP of sales there, overseeing ticket sales, building a culture from pretty much scratch, and really awesome experiment to go in and take a place that had 120 season ticket holders and leave it with right over 2,000. Not all full seasons. I wish we had that, but it was fulls, halves, quarters. Built out the group program, built out inside sales, built out some folks focusing on premium and helping on the partnership side. Before that, I was with the Phoenix Suns for a Mercury and Suns campaign, and on the group sales side. That was my bread and butter as a direct salesperson. Before that, I started my career actually in the American Hockey League in New Hampshire, going through inside sales and group sales with the Manchester Monarchs before the West Coast Swing, now Ontario Reign. So grew up in Kentucky, played soccer and tennis, and was fortunate enough to play tennis at Morehead State University. Couple NBA, your NBA folk. I went to school with Kenneth Fareed. It was a really cool time to be at Morehead State.
Nice.
We beat Louisville in the tournament my junior year. So that was as a UK fan, that was a feather in the cap of being a college kid. So but
as a New York Giants fan, that's also the home of Phil Simms. So yeah, so I knew Morehead from back then.
Phil doesn't come back to campus anymore, so we'll talk about Kenneth. But yeah, I'll let you go.
Yeah. So both of you very successful sales reps yourselves, and I think right now more than anything, I think it'll be good for reps to think about, and both of you are helping sell or selling yourselves in this moment. if you were all the way back in an inside sales reps or an AE role, and Nathan, we can start with you on this one. What would you be doing right now? What would be your course of action?
So I've had this question a couple times the past couple weeks, and really been able to give the direction to Dave Campbell. And I want to talk about groups real quick. My snap reaction was just, hey, let's get some training. Let's get a lot of the things outside of touching base with our fans. And then actually the question you asked me, Brett, a while back on a podcast, maybe it was a week ago, maybe it was a while back. But it was like, hey, it was a similar question, like, what would you do? And in that moment, I was like, wow, the direction I'm giving is probably not what I would personally do. And that is on the group size, I would shore up my base. Like I would be setting up calls similar to this with my group leaders. I think it's instantly unique. I think that it separates you from all the competition in your market, like right away. I don't think that that's happening. I think people might be starting to reach out now, but I don't think people are getting face to face. And what a unique time to use this new technology that everyone, families are at home having Zoom calls, right?
Yeah.
Enjoying time together. I think that if we're not shoring up our base, our book of business on the group side through, some of these, maybe you're recording testimonials through these web opportunities, video opportunities. And I'm really getting them pretty jacked up. I'm talking about, hey, after this is over, what are you going to do to help your team get back on the horse and be more connected and build camaraderie? Because right now your team's spread out. Can sports be the solution for you guys? And something early on that you do as a team to get back together? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the thoughts that were going through my head is, how am I going to be different than everyone else in my market? All the other teams. If I'm in Orlando, it's Magic, Daytona International Speedway. We got the Solar Bears. We've got, there's a couple teams, in that market, but all of our markets across the country. I think that Zoom can make us different. I think that not being scared to reach out and continue to build a relationship. Last time I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, like our fans usually see us when we're suited and booted.
Yeah.
What about our our clients? Our clients seeing us in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. I think it builds relationship. Saying like, hey, I think you can add in like, I'm a human being. And I think I would lead in with that web call with, how are you as a human?
Yep.
First, before we talk about sports. I think it's really about, how's the family? How are you doing? Are you staying safe? You got enough toilet paper? Can I, what can I do to help? Is there anything that I can do? And then I would ease my way into a conversation that should be a shining star, because it's something that people can look forward to returning. There's a lot of negativity in the news. I think us as a sports industry, we're entertainment. And I think that people, if they get to talk about sports once a week with you, I mean, that's a win. So I think that's where I would be on the group sales side. And I think that's some of the direction I've given to Dave and those guys to start having those types of market differentiator type of conversations across the country.
Yeah, I think, when I talk to group sales reps, one of the things that we talk about is how they spend their time. And a lot of times we talk about prospecting, developing, transacting, and operating. And reps tend to get way too over the top in terms of their time management on transacting and operating, which are almost two things you can't do right now. And they're the things that actually get in the way of really developing a group sales business. Prospecting and developing are two ways that a group sales rep grows their book of business year on year on year on year. This is the perfect time to be able to do both of them. I think it's a great point. And a backup point to that is, we just talked about this before we got on, but a really good group sale takes about 90 days to execute on. And so if you're not going to give yourself that ramp up time right now, man, it's going to be tougher, because not only are we going to need that 90 days to ramp up for a real group sale, but you have to think about how fast are businesses and nonprofit organizations and all those people going to have to make decisions the minute they get back on the ground. And it's going to be so fast that if we're not a part of that conversation now, we just won't be part of that conversation then. Mitch, take us back to your days as an AE in this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the sales environment that we're going to come back to is going to be much different than it was that we left, right? And so before this went down, so we, I've taken, and this is what I would have done, as a rep too, is, the first phase is sharpening your axe and making sure that, you're going to be a little bit more efficient in your technique and your skill set, because the sales environment is going to be tough, and you got to be sharp. And so we spend a lot of time, and this is, kind of the approach we've taken so far was, let's sharpen our axe, because we usually don't get a break like this to work on ourselves and develop ourselves, not only from our professional standpoint, but, outside of professional, just mentally, and accomplish some goals that, that we really wanted to, but it's like, my schedule is just so busy. Now there's no excuse. Like, you got to get your mentals right. Right. And so that's, so that's kind of the, approach I've personally taken during this, as well as, for our team, just to prepare us. And then, the first thing we did was call every season ticket holder and just checked on them. And, or call your current clients and just see how you doing, are you doing okay? Is everything going all right? How's your family? Very similar approach. And we got rave reviews for doing that. And there were tweet after tweet, this is why we love this club. Like, I didn't get a call from anybody else I had tickets with, they're calling me, thanking me. They remember those moments. And I think in times like this, you can really build a strong relationship that will stand the test of time. And so the goal is to build that right now and build that strong foundation. And, we haven't been using Zoom. I've been using Zoom with the team, but the team I don't think has necessarily been using Zoom. I love that idea, to start jumping on with some clients, jumping on a Zoom call, and just building that rapport, with them, and building that stronger relationship. So, I never, and I went through in Atlanta, where we were in an NBA lockout, and there was rumors we were selling the hockey team at the same time, which worked totally against my plan. That, okay, we're in an NBA lockout, I'm really going to work on, the hockey team, and really build up and really, work on my business. I'm good. Like, I'll go all in here on this product, and then the team gets sold. Right. So then I have nothing, and we're in the middle of a lockout. So what I did, I just, same thing. I really dove into the relationships with my customers. And when we came out of that, I had my best sales year ever, that year. Coming out of that, you wouldn't think that would be the case. It's like crazy. Like, how did you go through that? And then this, huge, economic downturn and all this stuff is all going on around the same time. But I came out of that with my best sales year. And I think it was because my relationships were sharp, and, really used that time to really galvanize those relationships and those people. Like you said, I think, as I think back in my career, we went through, the economic downturn, where the market crashed. We went through Hurricane Katrina. I think that coming out of this, sports is going to be the uniter for people again. And if we are being aggressive and proactive, and not, it's not a sales call. It is all about rapport and relationship right now. If we do really dive into those things, we'll be in a good spot. But if we wait, right? And another thing, sharpen our axe. And then the other thing is, plant the seeds so that you're harvesting, instead of planting the seeds later, plant them now, so that we're going to harvest when we're back in the office and things are back to normal, instead of waiting to plant your seeds then.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Mitch, last time we were on, you actually talked about closing a couple sponsorships during this time. What about businesses makes them open right now to some of those ideas or some of those concepts? Because I think it's important that we understand that, we can still, as soft as some of these touch points can be, there can still be, some results that come of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think every brand, and, in my role, I oversee marketing, I oversee sponsorship, I oversee ticket sales. I've got kind of the whole thing, which is kind of a lot to balance right now, because everybody is needs, my full attention. But, from a sponsorship, we have closed a lot of deals, over the last, few weeks. And I think as sports brands and sports teams, we don't view ourselves or give ourselves enough credit for what we are. We are a marketing engine, and on a daily basis, we are always looking to reinvent ourselves and to rebrand and to stay relevant, and come up with new ways to attract fans and, build market share locally. We're doing a good job of selling that to brands, because right now they're like, "Ooh, what do we do when this is over? And who do we want to align ourselves with when this, when this thing is over, to get back on track?" Or even right now, we have taken the approach that we're still a sports and entertainment team, or organization. Even though we're not playing games, we still need to be relevant. We still need to be creating amazing content from a marketing standpoint. And how can we bring our brands that are already partners with us along with us right now? And people are taking notice. They're like, man, they're creating all this really good content. And I see, Hometown Pizza, I see Baptist Health, I see, all these brands that are associated with this club, like, they're crushing it for them right now. And our engagement numbers are really good. We're kind of being creative. We got a little bit of time to pull some things off that normally we wouldn't be able to in our normal schedule. And we're tagging brands to it, and they're seeing the rewards and the benefits right now. And I think it's a really test for what we're about and the marketing engine we can become with the right partners.
Yeah, whether they're in the office or out of the office, working from home or not, there's very few businesses that are just shut down at this point. And I think all of them, especially as we hit weeks 4 and week 5, we're getting past the, oh my gosh, like, what are we doing in this moment, to all of a sudden being like, all right, now what do we need to do when we get back, or to be able to get back? And again, I think if you're proactive in terms of getting in the middle of those conversations, you'll have a lot of success. Nathan, I know, NASCAR obviously has an incredibly passionate base of fans. And I think this goes across all sports, because especially the ones that stay connected to us right now, obviously have a real passion for what we're doing. If you're thinking about a NASCAR fan, or one of your your business prospects, or your clients, or your book of business on your group sales side, what can we learn? What can we be learning about them right now? Or how can we be engaging them in a way that's actually going to get us more leads and more opportunities, especially those people that we've shown value to in the past? How can we use them to increase our business, whether with them personally or through their network right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it sounds like a repeat of what I might have just said, but I think that what you're talking about is, how do we take some of our current business relationships or consumer relationships that are just the average guest that comes out to one of our events, and how do we use them to find new businesses or new fans? I think being a human being always wins in that. I think that being someone that, if you were to have a Zoom, right, with a Boy Scout troop leader, just talk real traditional groups, that's going to be told to other pack leaders, right? That story is going to be passed on pretty naturally, as long as you don't come in there and you're all, cavalier, trying to hard sell them on a schedule that's not even real right now.
Yeah.
Right. I think that being a good human being always wins. I think on the business side, on the B2B side, I think that whenever, it would be a really unique time to ask a lot. And we'd always want to ask questions about our B2B prospects and clients about how their business works, but who are they interacting with right now? It would take, if you find out a little bit of their inner circles and their networks. And one of the best B2B salespeople I was ever around was Graham Graytech from the Phoenix Suns. He now, started a company in recruiting or something like that. But the thing that he was really good at, that I think could be pretty natural here, is that he would go, say it's a contractor and he closes some floor seats or something with a contractor. He would then enter their social network and say, he's a contractor. Who's the wood guy, right? Who's the wood company that you work with? Let's have a dinner. I'd love to talk. And then all of a sudden, the wood guy might become a client, and then that's great. So you're in that social network, right? And then it might be, he might say, okay, I've got a contractor and a wood guy. Let me go find some top plumbing company, and I'm going to sell them. Then I'm going to connect the two, because they both, industry-wise, they need each other. Right? Because they the contractor needs the plumbing company, and if you can connect them with a good source of plumbing, then you're bringing value outside of just the seats. You're actually delivering them business, Or it might be, hey, yeah, I work with a realtor, right? Oh, my realtor, let's get these people together. So I feel like through, we can't get together face to face right now, but really diving into people's network of who's still active today with them, and trying to find our way of delivering value outside of our events. I think that's kind of the thesis of what I'm trying to say on the B2B side. How can we deliver value outside of just purely events? And then on the consumer side, I think it's just word of mouth. If you're a really good human being and you build really good rapport, we're going to separate ourselves from everyone else. No one from State Farm is giving, our client a call right now to tell them about that new deal, right? That they're lowering the insurance for everybody, for a lot of people. That's an email. It's cold. There's not a lot of human relationship there. We're the human relationship sales teams. So I think that we have that unique ability to spread word of mouth by just being a really good human being with those folks. That's what I would say to that.
That's awesome. And I agree completely. And I think Mitch alluded to that as well. I think that's a tremendous point about being human first and then thinking business second. Both of you, I've made this play that right now reps need to be more entrepreneurial than ever, mostly because they're literally entrepreneurs sitting in their home at this point, just barely connected to their teams and whatnot. So I know both of you have actually taken big entrepreneurial leaps in your own career. Nathan, you talked a little bit about Salem, but also going to NASCAR to start that sales center was a very entrepreneurial move on your end. And Mitch, heading over to the, Alliance of American Football. What was it about having that entrepreneurial spirit that you think would be really helpful for a rep right now? Or what through those experiences that you had doing some of those things do you think would be really good for a rep to be able to understand and take in this moment?
Let me talk about, like the Alliance of American Football, right? Like everybody was like, you shouldn't do this. This is super risky. And, if someone said, oh, well, this is, there's no way that should have happened, and, your head is in the sand if that's the case. But what happened for me is, in the way I looked at it is, what if this one works and I'm there from the beginning? And if it doesn't work, in the time that I'm there, I'm going to learn so much more than I am in my current role. And look, I'm in Cleveland. I'm running, sales teams in Cleveland, multiple franchises. We're coming off of, another NBA Finals run. LeBron hasn't made his decision yet, whether he's staying or going and all this stuff. But for me, it was like, okay, everything is starting to slow down and it's starting to get in cruise control, and I'm not learning personally. I need to take a risk for me to grow. And sometimes that is doing something that's kind of scary in order to do that. But I tell you what, in the time that, in less than a year and the 8 months that I was part of that, and I'm one of the first 100, employees of the Alliance of American Football. Like that's how early I was in this process. But in that 8 months, I learned more and grew more as a person, as a leader, even just being involved in things that, in conversations with people that the presidents of, the Cavaliers are having, and it would never come down to my level. I got to experience everything from, and you may think it's kind of weird, but okay, picking out office space. Where are we going to be? What part of location? What's important? Like, how are we going to drive this? How, here's where we're going to play. Here's where we're going to be set up. Why here? Being, and all those conversations that were usually, just the way in the large organizations are just not part of what, they're kind of siloed out in another area. I got to be a part of all of those and learn tremendously about how to start something from scratch with really no resources, which was even, helped me get even more creative in the end. But sometimes you got to take a chance just to grow. And, I'm so much better for doing it.
I think what's interesting about what you talked about is there's a lot of things that like individual reps can do right now too, right? Like they can actually choose their office environment right now. Mm-hmm. Like they can make their office environment what they want, even if it's their kitchen table or it's their, a desk in the corner of their bedroom. They're in complete control of choosing their environment, choosing what they walk into every morning, choosing how they walk into it, choosing and making the decisions about who they're going to call right now in a way that just like, there's no way to really be a manager or a director or a vice president and be looking directly over your rep's shoulder every minute of the day now. Like, you can control the environment in a lot of ways. And so a lot of what you just talked about was interesting, because it's a lot of the choices a rep needs to make right now. Who am I going after right now? Who are the first people I'm engaging right now? Some of that's coming down from the top, but a lot of that is the individual decision of the rep every single day. How am I finding leads? All of that. Nathan?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Mitch just said. I would assume that Mitch is a builder. And that's like one of the words. If I picked 3 words to describe myself, that's who I am. Just real quick, just decisions I've made in my career. It takes a few of them for you to realize what you really are. But for inside sales, it was the Rockets with Rob Zeuer, or it was Manchester Monarchs. 3-person class versus 12 Manchester Monarchs, building a culture. I was like, yeah, I'll play the numbers game there, obviously, as well. I'm confident in myself, but I want to build something like special. Like, I want to go be a part of that. That worked out really well for me. Then I go to Phoenix. I wanted to learn more. That was really that move. But then, after a year, I had the opportunity to lead a team and build something again. My parents, a lot of my mentors were like, that's crazy. You're going to go from suited and booted to pulling tarp? Like, what are you doing? Like, I did well. I was producing. I hit my quota and goal, and in a really good culture. And also, as a group rep, I literally built a book of business twice and left it for growth. So think about that. I literally enjoy the pain of building something. And then I said, hey, someone else can benefit off that. 120K and then whatever, 250K. Like, you guys enjoy that. I'm going to go build. And in Salem, it was that exact thing. There's no season ticket base. There was no best practice. There was literally an opportunity with a good ownership group, Fenway Sports, to build something with best practice. And I got to see that firsthand, and I couldn't resist it. I went there for 4 seasons, and we built it. Went from losing a lot of money to making a lot of money in 4 seasons. 2,000 seats from 100 to 120 seats in the beginning when I got there on the season ticket side. Groups built up, everything. But it got Mitch, to quote you, I got to a point where I was like, okay, like I need a new challenge. I'm looking for a challenge. I'm looking to build something else. That's what I wanted. And that's what motivates me the most. And I felt myself getting a little dull, right? Because I knew that, we're going to continue to grow revenue. It's going to be a little bit more percentage based than big incremental gains at this point. And I landed, at ISC, which sounds like an accounting firm, in NASCAR, to build out an inside sales team. But the upside was huge. I mean, huge company, huge opportunity. They wanted to invest in salespeople, which was something, that they really didn't have to do for the first 50 years of their existence. Everything just sold out. Unique opportunity. And then, we went through the merger, and now where I am today is a place that I could be. There's enough challenges and excitement here that can keep me rolling for a long time. I'm really happy about that opportunity. But it came from that. I want to build things, right? The team here, since I got to ISC in 2.5 years, like, we've evolved kind of like every 3 to 6 months. And I think I see us doing that for a long time. For a rep, if you have the ability right now to build while others are paused, which I think is really exciting. That's where I get kind of jacked up in that conversation. I talk about the Zoom calls, or like, literally, what can you do to be different? Because there's a lot of people doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love that, because, I took one of those interesting career turns, right? Going from the NBA league office to starting an indoor lacrosse team in Boston, Massachusetts. But I can tell you, and I think, I think Mitch, you said it, and I know Nathan, you said it a little bit too. Like, I learned way more from those experiences as much as I learned at the NBA league office going into sports for the first time, it was incredible, but I would have had no idea how to execute at a team level had it not been to be the person that was literally like rolling out the tarp grass field at the Boston Garden, or setting up the field seats for, the Washington Freedom of women's professional soccer. And I think, to Mitch, your point, to being in some of those conversations at a senior management level that I just wouldn't have had access to had I gone directly to be an inside sales manager for an NBA team. And I think one of the things that I learned in that process was it's actually way more efficient to go earn sales than it is to just cast a very shallow net and hope something jumps into your boat. Like learning that a sales process is important, and that, you know, if someone's converting, you know, their sales at 1% or 2%, if I convert at 5% because I put in a little bit more effort with every client and try to earn that business, that I over time am going to absolutely wipe the floor with these people, because we had to earn every fan at the Blazers because they were a startup. We had to earn every fan at the Washington Freedom because they had been completely mistreated by DC United. You know, I would say what is an enduring lesson? So for me, it was earning fans is far more efficient than casting a net and hoping you just get a couple. What would be an enduring takeaway that you guys had from your entrepreneurial experiences, or something that's stuck in your head about it that you think could help a rep right now? I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but
I think I had something until it was to help a rep. I think it can help leadership. Specifically is that ISC was the first time I didn't have a sales dad or mom.
yeah,
Like, right, I was kind of like out of the nest a little bit. And so being able to, because I was lucky in Salem, the president was Ryan Shelton. He's a sales guy, right, through and through. So being able to win influence with people who aren't cut from your same cloth is the big thing that it might be able to help a rep. I just think it's a little different, but I think just those lessons can really help. Maybe I'm trying to put it into a rep's perspective. You're in the group sales team and there's membership guys and there's premium guys, and being able to, you know, when you have someone premium on the hook, be able to go to those guys and win influence and help them close the deal with you. I don't know. I'm kind of making up some things, but maybe one of you guys can help tie the knot there. But I think being able to win influence with folks who aren't exactly cut from our same cloth is something that I learned here, that, you know, I don't know if there's many other jobs in America outside of definitely minor league sports where I love and where I was, that I wouldn't have had a sales dad or sales mom. And so I learned from Tom Canello a lot of how to maneuver politically, how to get things done with different groups of people, how to go to IT and have them help us get, you know, the products we need to be better sales teams whenever, you know, they might cost a lot of money. It might take, you know, it's not as smooth as what you'd want it to be. And how to win that influence, I think, was something that I got that I never would have gotten in Salem or Phoenix or even Manchester, really, because there's always sales cultures already there.
I don't think that's just a great manager thing. I think that's incredible advice for a rep too, because you guys may not believe this, but I can be a little bit of a blunt force instrument when I work team side. And I remember about 3 to 5 months into my time at the Crew, I was genuinely hated by everyone that wasn't on the sales team in the organization. And I was actually brought into the office by my senior vice president, Mike Malo, my vice president, Clark Beacom. And they're like, we appreciate what you're doing with the sales team, but everybody else hates you. You need to figure this out. And what was crazy was they tasked me with spending more time just walking around the offices, creating relationships that didn't exist within like me asking them something. And then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, I have a great relationship with marketing. It's crazy how we get a lot of the collateral we weren't getting before. Creating a better relationship with ticket operations and getting a lot of grace with a lot of our inside sales reps to be able to do that. Working really hard to create a level of trust with stadium operations, and all of a sudden being able to pull off incredible events they'd never been able to do there before. And I think Nathan, I think that advice goes way beyond what a manager needs. I think, you know, for a sales rep to be able to create those relationships internally and have that level of positivity, it's going to give them a lot of grace in terms of getting things done that they want to get done, but also making themselves an invaluable member of the organization. Like, even if you can't sell, but everybody likes you, they're probably going to try to find a place for you if that's the case.
Yeah, and I appreciate the time there and some good points. Group sales is that. I mean, group sales, you're working with the arena ops people, you're working with marketing, you're working with who's making the flyer for you, who's helping you with graphics, you're working with a lot of different departments. If you're on the BD side, you know, maybe you're selling club seats, you got to rely on Levy or those guys to provide the food. You have to, you know, come in and shake their hand and say, hey, I need you to give this guy a little extra love. He's a prospect. Help me out. And if they love you because you're a great human being, I think that type of buy-in will go a long way.
You got plenty of time right now to write a lot of really nice notes and Zoom with people that you may not Zoom with otherwise, just to catch up and see how they're doing. This is going to be probably a really good time for a lot of younger sales reps to gain a lot of grace organizationally. Mitch, we gave you some time to think there. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great points there. And I go back to what you said, Brett. I mean, it's, getting it earned instead of getting it given, it means so much more. And, although in the moment, and this is one of the things, you have somebody who, it feels like they were given the easy street, in some cases, in the sales process or, especially early on, that won't last. And I think, sticking to the fundamentals and getting it earned in the long run will serve you so much better. And I think it will relate to any environment you go to, because some sales environments are going to be easier than others, obviously. And, selling one team or one product or event is going to be easier than the other. But if you stick to getting it earned and sticking to building a solid process right now, and doing it repetitively over and over again, the thing that, I'm sure my sales team in Atlanta used to hate it because, I would pull up the old call reports from like year 5 of me. Like, I'm a manager and I'm still making 85 calls a day average as a manager. And it's a mix of different things. It's calling to build relationships, touch base with people, still pushing to drive new revenue, making those cold calls that nobody else wanted to do. But I still stuck to that. And then when I transitioned out of the sales role, I still worked the same way, but differently as a leader. But my fundamental process was the same. And I think it, helped me excel as a leader. And then, when I go to, different roles, sticking to that disciplined process, even from early on. If I would have worried about what, everybody else was doing, I wouldn't have been successful myself. I'm the only one that can control my destiny, and I got to focus on myself, my process, doing things the right way and getting it earned, and not worry about what everybody else is given. And if I focus on that, every step of the process as I grow, as I, take over a team and move on throughout, even competing in the league, like, there's going to be, teams that are going to get it so much easier, than us, and they're going to have success. And, but if we stick to a good process, we'll grow faster than they will. And we'll have a foundation that's built with solid, on solid ground instead of a house of cards. And I think, only you can kind of control that.
First, there's 2 things in there that I absolutely love. And I think one of the biggest things is if all we do is just search out yeses, then every sales rep's going to be equal because the percentages are just going to play out over time. At some point, you've got to be the person that gets no's more than the other people around you and influences maybes better than the people around you. If you do those 2 things as a sales rep, that will 100% set you apart. And that's a lot of what I talk about right now in my sales training. That's very different from, even when I was doing with you guys in Cleveland, Mitch, is, the process to sales is so much more critical than even 3, 4, 5 years ago right now, because our ability to get answers, influence people, spending our time the right way. The other thing that I say a lot now that I think you made that point in there is, first off, process wins and activity replaces activity. Like, just because we now have like more email capabilities with video and pictures, and we can do LinkedIn now and we can do Twitter now, it doesn't replace activity. Like, you can't just do one of those things and assume that makes up 10 phone calls, right? Like, it's got to continue to be a one-to-one. We still need to have, you talked about 85 phone calls a day, even as a manager. Like, we still need to find a way to make 85 touch points every single day, 100 touch points every single day. And I think those things are so critical. Like, process wins, just understanding what the most efficient form of yourself is, and understanding that whatever that efficient form is, activity doesn't replace activity. Like, that's one thing that will never go away, that will always be true about sales, is activity is activity. It doesn't matter what activity it is, as long as you know what activity is best for you, and you can replace a phone call with a LinkedIn message as long as you see results from the LinkedIn messages that you're sending. Nathan, I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah, I mean, For me, all the tech should help us plus up our touch points.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I think of it. It's a plus up. It's not, because those other technological touch points are actually more efficient timing wise. So you really, if you're looking for 80 to 100 outbound calls, the tech should help you plus that up. That's how I look at it. That's me personally. Really, and all that activity is building yourself a web, right? It's how big is my web? And you talk about reps, Brett, really good point. You need the nose. You need the reps on the nose. As long as you're getting a little better on those each time and you're flipping some people. We in our world here in NASCAR, I really want them thinking about how many people do they flip.
Yeah.
We have a lot of passionate fans, right? In Salem, if we didn't make phone calls, there's no sales, right? There's no endemic interest for season ticket products, group product. There's just none. So everything was earned there. In NASCAR, we have very passionate fans, and I want folks going home each day saying, "Hey, I flipped those 3 people."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They were maybes. I got them to yeses, and that's what I want them They went from no's, and they went to maybes, they went to yeses. They went from no's straight to yes. I want them thinking about that's what they should feel good when they go home or when they roll out of whatever room they're in now and go to their other room. That's what I want them really focusing on.
I love that last part, but I love the plus up because I think there's this idea, right, that I'm either a social seller or I'm an old school seller, right? Like the people who are saying that I'm old school, I do it just this way. It's like, I use the example John Bone Jones could beat me up with one arm, right? He could beat me up with one arm and he'd still be a very good fighter and he'd kick my butt with one arm. But he would probably kick my butt a lot faster if he used 2 arms. And so using the technology to be able to help speed up the process and be able to get more people engaged and more people on the phone and more people face to face, that's how you need to think about technology. And then for those people who just say they're social sellers, well, unfortunately for you, people still close over the phone and face to face. Those are the 2 ways people close. So if you're doing everything you can to avoid the phone and face to face, then you're just avoiding making sales. And so I love the idea of plus up is that we know the end game is to get them to the phone and get them face to face. So how do you now use the array of different things you have to be able to get that person to that point in the conversation?
I've always felt that the social seller is underselling and is leaving money on the table. And
I just
go ahead. Is he locked up?
Yeah, a little bit. Go ahead, Mitch.
I've always felt like the social seller is leaving money on the table. I still think that, I just don't see how somebody's going to spend 6 figures on a social, without seeing, touching, talking through and having those tough conversations that I think you need to do face to face, whether it's on a Zoom call or whether it's, in the venue or a lunch or a coffee or whatever. I feel like there is a lot that can be explained. I mean, you can get them to a yes, and I think that's great, but I think there is way more money that can be gotten by going through the phone or having that interaction and building that rapport.
No doubt.
Just, it's just my thoughts. I've always had that feeling on social selling.
Nathan, I think you're back.
Yeah, my internet's cutting in and out. Sorry, guys, if this cuts out. I just want to use 30 seconds to plug this. I know I got a hard stop at 11, but something that really gets under my skin is when people say, "Oh, wouldn't you rather have 42 calls that are quality versus 80 that aren't?" And I say, that's adorable. Why don't you have 85 quality calls?
Yes.
What? It really does get under my skin. Of course we need them quality. Of course it needs to be about rapport and relationship and all of those things. Of course. Why would we not why would we build a smaller web on purpose?
Yeah.
I mean, I just had to plug that real quick, but there are people that preach that, and I'm all for the quality. Let's just go build a big web of quality, right?
We would do between 3 and 6 hours of education every day at the National Sales Center. And the average amount of phone calls the rep at the National Sales Center made per day?
150.
150. You know why they made 150 calls? Because they didn't know any better. And you want to know something? Even if we were selling for Chivas USA, which was the hardest sale in America at that point in time, we closed business every day and we closed business every week, because I think a lot of times we tend to think we start to know better, and that some activity doesn't replace activity, and we start to say things like, well, isn't 45 good calls better than 85 bad calls? And again, I love your point. It's like, why does that have to be the case? Just why does that have to be the thing that you say? Like, sure, but why not just make, to your point, 85 good phone calls in that moment? Like, there's no reason not to.
And I think it goes back to discipline and process. If you are disciplined and your process is good, and you focus on those fundamental things, you make your 42 calls or 85 calls, or you could make 600 calls that day. But if you do things the right way in every call and go about it, and you sharpen your axe, you have 600 good calls in one day. It's on you whether or not it's a good call or not, not the other way around.
Yeah, and my personal belief is that if you build your process the right way, like you're saying, Mitch, and you have rapport and you have the right things in there that really make it a great call, the only factor that determines hustle is time in between phone calls. Mm-hmm. There's one factor. I mean, there can be like, hey, not as many people pick up today, right? Those little tiny, but like in scale, I guess my hand's got to go a little tighter here. In scale, the only factor is how much time is there in between calls? How tight are you on CRM? Or do you have your whole day prepared and your lead list? It's just time between calls, and then your determination and process takes over once people answer the phone.
I have a whole session of training that I do that has been some of the best reviewed over the last year or two on call blocking. So literally, if you make a decision to pick up the phone right now, how do you maximize that hour that you've made to make that decision to be able to do it? And one of the things that I talk about is, don't just print out the call list, take notes next to it, update CRM once you're done. We lose so much time in between every single one of those activities that I just remember when I was at CEB, when I used to make about 200 to 250 phone calls a day, I would have paper that I'd just keep going like this, make the calls, and I'd rip through that for like 2 hours. And then when I was done, I'd take all the notes on that paper, and then I'd upload that into our like really early on CRM system that we had back in 2005. But there was just no way that I was going to be an efficient salesperson if it was look up the history of the company, like make that phone call, leave that voice message, pull up the notes area, put the LVM in, like sit back down, like someone's going to be talking to me or something's going to be happening to me because I'm not locked in. And the amount of time I lose there is incredible. That is actually some of the training I'm getting the best feedback on now is, if I say I'm going to call for an hour, how do I get an hour out of that phone call? And so, listen, I know we're running up on both of your times. You guys have been awesome. What's one piece of advice? There's been a ton today, but what's one big piece of advice that you'd give reps that you want to leave them with, right now, that you think would be really helpful, especially knowing that, we're into week 5, and I think there's a lot of, the eyes are getting a little tired, and, we're getting into that routine that can be really difficult. What's some advice there to help break through?
For me, take care of your mental health. Number one, like have people you can talk to, because it's weird. We're living in weird times, right? There's a lot of anxiety. I think just having people you can talk with is probably going to help take care of a lot of that world. Number 2 would be just, it's similar, but you have to adapt now that we're in this environment that we are. But how do you outwork the person to your left and to the right of you at all times? If what your boss wants is 100, how do you deliver 115? And you do those little things and those commitments that you're always going to come out on top. Your brand's going to be strong. Your output and your production is going to be strong. And then, as a part of that, how do you outwork people? How do you differentiate yourself from the University of Louisville, right? How are you different from the Bats, How are you different from your competitors in local marketplace from a rep perspective? And if you are, at a higher level, you can deliver a higher level of service, expertise, wits. You just win, and that's what I would deliver to folks.
It's a great point. I was talking to a rep the other day who was saying, that their team was saying that they need to get to 75 pieces of activity every single day. And I was like, so where are you at? And he's like, I'm at about 75 every single day. I'm pretty consistent right there, a little bit over. And I felt like the manager from Office Space, like Jennifer Aniston's manager, who was like talking about like, you're just doing the bare minimum, you're like wearing the bare minimum of flair on your shirt. Like, because the reality is like, now's the time to overwork, outwork. There's no distractions around you in the office. When you lock in, you can be completely locked in. Now's the time to show them that you should have a job there and that you're willing to work and fight for that job, because there's going to be very little revenue that comes in right now. So all the metrics that organizations are really going to look at is how are you building and growing your pipeline, and what are the activities you're doing every single day. And you'll be the last one cut if that's what it comes to, if you're that person that's showing that this is the moment you've made a decision to step up in. Mitch?
Yeah, all great points, and just kind of add to it. I think figure out right now where you want to go, and wherever that is, plus it up.
Yep.
Don't settle for that, because you can do more than that. Put together your plan today and start it today, of how you're going to get there, and don't wait till tomorrow. And it's really easy to outwork people today. If you have a plan to do it, and if you really want to do it. And I think invest in yourself right now while you're young to build a strong career foundation, because it gets easier. And this, look, making cold calls every day is not fun for anybody. And I don't want people making cold calls every day for the rest of their life, unless that's what you want to do and you love it. But put in the tough work now, because and do it the right way. And I think it'll be over sooner than later, and you'll be moving on into that next step in your career and that next phase, and getting closer to where your sights are set.
Yep. Everything right now is an investment, right? Like, making yourself a better salesperson is an investment in your future. Going outbound right now and connecting with your clients is an investment in your sales down the line when we get back. I think that's an incredible point to end on. So thank you guys. You guys have been more than generous with your time. I'm very hopeful that this one makes it online, but thanks guys.
See you guys.
Thanks. Have a good one. Appreciate it.